This is an interview with 33-year-old Jeff Bezos in 1999. It was the peak of the dot-com bubble, and Amazon was its biggest superstar. It had a market value of $30 billion, and Bezos was personally worth $10 billion. However, by 2002, that bubble had burst, and almost all internet companies disappeared into obscurity. Even Amazon crashed by more than 95%, and everyone thought it was over. But Amazon survived somehow, and today it has the largest e-commerce website in the world, with a $1 trillion valuation. Why did it survive when everyone around it was collapsing? Why was Amazon so different? Well, if you watch this interview, you'll start to realize why. It was thanks to one man's sheer focus and commitment to one thing: customer service. Amazon has changed the way we shop. Need something at your doorstep within 24 hours? Done. Don't like the product and want to return it? Done. Want the best price for a product? Done. We take things like these for granted, but the work put into achieving this is insane. It's taken Amazon 20 years of unprofitable growth and obsession with customer service to achieve this. And finally, he's made Amazon a $1 trillion company. What's more insane is this is just the start of an empire Jeff Bezos wants to build. This is the story of a man who quit his six-figure hedge fund job to start an online bookstore. A man who thought his idea had a 70% chance of failure, yet bet everything into it. This is the story of Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos was born on January 12, 1964, in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He had a rough childhood. His mother, Jacqueline, was a 17-year-old high school student, and his father, Theodore Jorgensen, was 19. The marriage didn't last, and they would end divorced when Jeff was just 2 years old. Despite all this, Jacqueline continued with her studies. She attended a night school where her professors allowed her to bring Jeff along. When Jeff was 4 years old, his mother would meet a Cuban migrant named Mike Bezos, and they would get married. Jeff Bezos showed interest in tech very early in his life. He once rigged an electric alarm to keep his younger siblings out of his room. He was also gifted academically. He was high school valedictorian, a National Merit Scholar, and a Silver Knight Award winner in 1982. In his graduation speech, Bezos said that he dreamed of the day when mankind would colonize space. A local newspaper quoted his intention to get all the people off the Earth and see it turned into a huge national park. He's currently working towards his goal through his company Blue Origin, but more about that later. Jeff's early success would continue when he joined Princeton University. He initially wanted to be a physicist, but decided not to after he realized he wasn't going to be a great physicist. He would instead graduate in electrical engineering and computer science. He graduated top of his class at Princeton and was on track to join companies like Intel. However, he would choose to work in a fintech startup, where he was tasked with building a network for international trade. He left this job in 1990 and joined a quant hedge fund called D.E. Shaw & Co. He became the senior vice president of the fund at just 30, and it looked like his career was set. However, Bezos was planning something very different. At the end of 1993, Jeff Bezos heard that the internet was growing at 2,300% a year. He was also a computer engineer, so it didn't take long for him to be convinced that it was the next big thing. He initially brainstormed with a few ideas, but decided to sell books in the end, primarily because there were millions of books in circulation at any given point. Jeff was already on track to a very successful career, so you'd expect he wouldn't get a lot of support from his family. I mean, why would anyone leave a well-paying hedge fund job to start an online bookstore? And during the mid-90s, not many people understood what the internet was. But something very unexpected happened when Jeff talked about his idea with his wife Mackenzie. Even before asking what the internet was, she said, "Great, let's go." And Jeff and Mackenzie would move to Seattle from New York to start Amazon. The company was initially named Cadabra, yes, as in abracadabra, but his lawyer convinced him to change the name. He eventually settled on the name Amazon after brainstorming and registering many domains. Amazon had the typical startup story. Jeff Bezos started it out of his garage in '94. His parents invested the initial $300,000, which Jeff later said was a substantial fraction of their life savings. He spent the first year building the website in relationship with the vendors, and finally launched the website in 1995. It blew up pretty quickly. Jeff Bezos believed it was a great idea, but even he didn't anticipate this much. Within 30 days of the launch, Amazon had already gotten orders from 50 states and over 45 countries. The team was not ready to handle this. Mackenzie had to look at the accounting and other departments, even though she had little experience. The website would experience frequent crashes due to the sheer volume of people using it. But this was just the start. You see, Jeff Bezos entered the market at the perfect time. Internet usage was growing rapidly, and investors were excited about this new thing. Jeff Bezos raised another round of $1 million soon, and the company was growing rapidly. This is when Jeff Bezos took Amazon to the next level. In 1997, he took Amazon public and raised $54 million, valuing the company at $438 million. This was when the internet stocks were flying high, and the internet boom was rapidly turning into a full-blown mania. Amazon continued to post strong growth, and Wall Street loved it. The stock kept on hitting new highs, and Jeff Bezos' wealth continued to grow. However, what he did at this point separated him from the rest. The dot-com bubble was a strange time. Any company that had a dot-com in its name was never too expensive to buy, and Amazon was no different. It was ridiculously overvalued. But the difference was, Jeff knew this. He knew this wouldn't last long. While other companies were burning cash into ventures that had no way of making money, Jeff was very strategic about spending money. And this is where his obsession with customer experience comes to play. His thinking was simple. Does this investment add value to customers? Does this improve their customer experience? If the answer was yes, invest in it. In 1998, Bezos diversified into the online sale of music and video. And by the end of the year, he had expanded the company products to include a variety of other consumer goods. By 1999, the dot-com bubble had reached its peak, and Amazon was valued at an eye-watering $30 billion. Jeff Bezos' own wealth had peaked at $11 billion. However, everything came crashing down after the bubble burst. This was a hard time for Amazon, as it was not yet profitable. Amazon's cash reserves had dipped below $350 million in 2000, and fears of bankruptcy were rising. However, Bezos had spent years building physical infrastructure and was finally able to secure a $2 billion loan from the banks. In 2002, Amazon's business started to stagnate, and once again it was on the verge of bankruptcy. After this, he closed his distribution centers and laid off 14% of the Amazon workforce. The crash was so bad that Amazon's stock price dropped from $114 to $6, representing a 95% drop. However, Jeff Bezos wasn't going to give up that easily. He knew that he had built a great business, and it just needed scale. He was so focused on making the business better, he thought the crash was just a learning experience. Amazon survived the dot-com crash, and soon launched profitable ventures like AWS and Kindle. And after decades of aggressive growth, Amazon posted its first profit in 2019. In these unprofitable years, it has built such an infrastructure and customer base that no one is capable of competing with it in terms of price and product selection. It's a monopoly. During the COVID-19 pandemic, its dominance only grew, as everyone was stuck at home and Amazon was the perfect solution for everything. It has recently ventured into so many areas that people are starting to call it an everything company. Jeff Bezos has recently stepped down from Amazon to focus on his space company, Blue Origin. Looks like his high school dream is coming to reality. Blue Origin plans to manufacture in space and make space tourism viable to the masses. And when you look at his success with Amazon, you can't help but get excited. This venture is even more interesting when you consider people like Elon Musk and Richard Branson are actively competing here. Maybe we can manufacture everything in space and colonize Mars soon. Who knows? No matter what you think about Jeff Bezos, you can't argue he is a visionary. He left his hedge fund job to start a bookstore and turned it into the biggest e-commerce website. He's someone who can stay focused and determined against all odds. And this time, he's set to revolutionize the space industry. So, will he be able to revolutionize the space industry too? Comment that down below. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.